A man stands at a bathroom mirror at 6:14 in the morning. He holds a razor an inch from his jaw. He doesn't move. Outside, the city is waking up. Traffic. A kettle. A door closing somewhere down the hall. He sets the razor down. Untouched. He will make this same decision tomorrow. And the day after. He does not know why. Neither does anyone else. Most people assume the beard is simple. A leftover. A biological accident. Some furry inheritance from an ancestor who needed it, and we somehow forgot to lose it. That is not what happened. Because humans did lose their fur. Almost all of it. Somewhere between 1 and 3 million years ago, our ancestors underwent one of the strangest transformations in the history of mammals. They became naked. Not gradually shedding warmth by accident, but selected into baldness, skin exposed to the African sun, sweat glands multiplying by the millions to cool a brain that was rapidly expanding. Every other primate kept its coat. We didn't. And yet, on the face of half the species, hair remained. Not thin, not vestigial, coarse, dense, deliberate hair, growing precisely where a threat assessment would look first. That is not what evolution does with things it no longer needs. Here is the first uncomfortable fact. Evolution does not preserve what is useless. It is ruthless with waste. Tails vanished. Body hair thinned to near nothing. But the beard didn't fade. In many lineages, it thickened, darkened, and became one of the most visible differences between the sexes on the entire human body. Something wanted it there. The question is what? In 1871, a man on a ship returning from years of observing finches and beetles sat down to write something stranger than natural selection. Charles Darwin could explain the peacock's tail. He could explain the antlers, the mane, the plumage of birds no predator could afford to display. But he struggled visibly in his own writing with the human beard. He turned it over for pages. He guessed, he hedged. He called it, tentatively, an ornament. Not armor, not warmth, not an accident. A signal. For decades, this idea sat quietly, unfashionable, half-forgotten, until researchers started doing something unusual. They showed people faces. Not real faces, manipulated ones. The same jawline, the same eyes, the same bone structure, rendered twice, once clean-shaven, once bearded. And they asked strangers to rate them. The bearded face was consistently judged older, consistently judged more dominant. In several studies, consistently judged more aggressive and almost contradictorily, more suitable as a long-term partner and a father. Not more attractive in every case, not universally preferred. More believed. The beard did not change the person underneath it. It changed what the observer assumed about him before a single word was spoken. That is the part that should unsettle you. In 2020, a research team at the University of Utah asked a question almost nobody had asked seriously before. What if the beard is not for you to look dangerous? What if it's for surviving danger? They took foam cylinders, wrapped some in sheared sheepskin to mimic a beard, left others bare, and dropped a weight onto them shaped like a fist, calibrated to strike with the force of a human punch. The bearded cylinders absorbed more impact. The energy spread wider before reaching what would have been bone. The implication is quiet, and it is enormous. For most of human history, men fought men not with knives first. With hands, with jaws as the target. A beard, in that light, is not decoration. It may be the oldest piece of armor our species ever grew, built not by a blacksmith, but by natural selection itself, sitting exactly where a fist would land. Two explanations, both partially supported, neither fully sufficient. A signal of dominance, a cushion against violence. Notice what they have in common. Both exist because other men were watching. Both exist because of conflict, real or anticipated, between males competing for the same scarce things, status, mates, territory. The beard was never really about attracting. It may have always been about warning. Beneath the visible hair is something the observer never sees. Facial hair is not simply hair. It is one of the most androgen-sensitive tissues on the human body, a living readout of testosterone and its more potent derivative, dihydrotestosterone, acting on follicles for years before a single strand breaks the surface. Which means every beard is, in a sense, a report. A slow, cellular record of a hormonal history no words could summarize as efficiently. Other people read this, usually without knowing they're reading anything at all. Studies on perception consistently find the same pattern. Heavier facial hair correlates with perceived masculinity, and perceived masculinity correlates, rightly or not, with judgments about health, competitiveness, and social status. Because here is where the story turns uncomfortable again. The correlation between beard thickness and actual testosterone levels in the blood is weak, inconsistent across studies, sometimes absent entirely. We are reading a signal that may not reliably say what we assume it says. We built an entire unconscious language around a symbol whose meaning we cannot fully verify. Now widen the lens. If the beard were purely a fixed evolutionary signal, hardwired, unconditional, it should look the same in every era, every culture, every decade. It doesn't. Beards vanish from fashion for generations, then return within a single decade, spreading not through biology, but through imitation. Ancient Rome, at points, prized the clean-shaven face as a mark of civilization, while the barbarian beyond the border wore his beard as a mark of the same masculine dominance researchers now measure in a lab. Same signal, opposite culture, opposite verdict. This is the moment the story stops being only about evolution. Because a trait that biology built, for warning, for protection, for hierarchy, has been picked up by culture and turned into something biology never intended. A costume, a statement, a rebellion, a trend. Nature grew the hair. We decided, generation after generation, what it means. Which brings the story back to the mirror. The man standing there is not thinking about foam cylinders, or androgen receptors, or Roman senators shaving their faces to look civilized. He is thinking, vaguely, about how he wants to be seen today. He does not know that his decision echoes a negotiation that began before language, before fire, before the first tool was sharpened. A negotiation between exposure and protection, between attraction and threat, between the animal needing to be read correctly by strangers and the human needing to control what they read. He thinks he is choosing a look. He is actually continuing an argument that is roughly 2 million years old. We tell ourselves we left the forest behind, that we are the naked ape now, clever, hairless, freed from instinct, running on reason instead of biology. But there is a patch of skin on half our species that never got the message. It kept growing, quietly, through every migration, every war, every fashion, every century that claimed to have moved past what our bodies still insist on doing. Maybe the beard was never really about hair at all. Maybe it is the last visible proof that underneath the razors, the meetings, the mirrors, the decisions we believe are entirely our own. Something older is still speaking, and we are still listening. We just call it a preference.